what you got to do, no matter what happened, is you gotta have your confidence, right? Anybody can tell you who you are. If you do the swoop bang, I could say, bitch, you're not even a swoop bang. You ain't even invent that. My cousin might have CJ Walker. Now what? The only thing that's gonna stop you from internalizing what me or any other will say is the confidence to know yourself and to decide for yourself. Once you know who you are, can't nobody take that from you. I want a bitch to try to take it from me.
What's good? It's your girl Tia back with episode 2 of the SOS podcast, and today's episode is self awareness. I just played a clip talking about confidence and how the only thing stopping you from internalizing what anyone says about you is knowing yourself, knowing who you are. Once you know who you are, no one can take that away from you. So that leads me into talking about self awareness. If you know who you are, you truly know who you are, you're self aware, then nothing can affect you. So, what is self awareness? According to Google, self awareness is your ability to perceive and understand the things that make you who you are as an individual, like your personality, your actions, your values, your beliefs, your emotions, and thoughts. My definition of self awareness is knowing yourself, knowing who you really are, understanding your emotions, not neglecting them, understanding your thoughts, understanding your values, and understand why you do what you do. What are the steps to becoming a more self aware individual? You have to kill your ego. You have to kill the fact of thinking that you're perfect. You have to kill the fact that you don't have any flaws, because everybody has flaws. We just don't want to recognize them. You have to keep an open mind. You have to be willing to make the change. You have to be willing to put in the time and effort. You have to be open to the criticism. Be open to changing who you are. Not completely, not changing your personality, but changing certain things about you that may not be benefiting you. You have to know your emotional triggers. Be aware of what makes you feel what you feel. Tuning into your feelings and not ignoring them, not neglecting them, not deflecting your feelings. Ask yourself, why do you feel whatever you feel? Address the emotion and move forward. You can't be it takes more energy to be upset than it takes to be happy. And if something happened earlier in your day, don't carry that on all day, because it affects your energy, and it's very noticeable when you see that something affects your energy. You have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable to put yourself in a better position. You have to have clarity on your personal values. You have to know what you truly value as a person. And you have to ask people for feedback to notice those blind spots. People that you have solid relationships with, your parents, your family, other family members, your friends, your partner, your spouse. And a way that you can approach them is by saying, I'm on a new journey of self awareness. Could you give me some advice on how I could improve? It's like asking for a recommendation, asking on things on how to improve. It's not an opinion. You have to remember that it's not an opinion, and it's also something that you did ask for. So you can't get upset when they tell you exactly what you asked for. You have to take what they say and you use what works best for you. You use the points that you agree with working on. And you also have to set boundaries. You have to set boundaries with other people as well as yourself. If you know there's a party at the end of the night that you want to go to, but you have a full schedule of things that you need to get done, you have to set the boundary of saying, I'm not going anywhere and I'm not doing anything until I get my work done. That's giving yourself that boundary to complete your work. Setting boundaries with other people could mean multiple things. So say if your friend says something that you didn't like, you can tell them, hey, I didn't like that. And set that boundary on what you can and cannot joke about. Or if your friend wants you to go out with them and you have assignments that you need to do, you have other obligations, then saying, hey, I would like to, but I have this that I need to get done instead. So maybe next time. What are the benefits of becoming self-aware? You'll increase your productivity. We're our biggest enemy when it comes down to procrastination. And it comes from our own thoughts, our emotions, and our habits. And they get in the way sometimes. One thing I can say for me personally is fear. I used to have a fear of failure, fear of not being perfect, a fear being scared to fail because it doesn't sound good. But when you fail, you learn more lessons than when you don't fail. If you're always winning, then what are you learning? You're not learning anything if you win every single time. Fear is something that you put in yourself. Fear is a thought. Fear is something that you can easily get rid of. It may take a little more work, but you can get rid of fear. Failure equals success. I'd rather be brave and fail than to be stagnant and stuck. That's from the Know For Sure podcast. B. Simone said she'd rather be brave and fail with many lessons than to be stagnant and stuck with no lessons at all. The only way you truly find out who you are is through trial and error. You have to try out different things to see if you like them. That's the only way that you truly know who you are. Another way that self-awareness helps you is you have clear thinking and better decision making. Poor decision making comes from disordered thinking and unchecked emotional reactions. I'm going to say that again. Poor decision making comes from disordered thinking and unchecked emotional reactions. When our mind is clouded with a lot of negative thoughts, disordered thinking comes about. You're not clear on what you're thinking. And if you have unchecked emotions, then that also plays a part too. When you have disordered thinking and unchecked emotional reactions because you didn't deal with them, you're creating a war in your head. And when you create that war, it is not a good thing. That's when you start operating more out of emotion instead of logic. When you become more aware of your thoughts and feelings, you can distinguish the difference between a short-term impulse and desire versus long-term values and goals. A short-term impulse is wanting a cookie versus a salad. You want that cookie because it tastes sweet and it's something that may be tastier than a salad, but that salad is healthier for you. A short-term desire. A short-term impulse is being violent and aggressive in traffic. Say if somebody cuts you off in traffic, you honk the horn at them. And you may say some things that may not be the nicest, but you're acting out of emotion instead of logic, because logically they cannot hear anything that you're saying right now because you're in your car and they're in theirs. So when you know, when you are able to realize that something is an impulse and it is versus a desire, it makes a big difference. An impulse is a sudden force. It's something that you want right then, something that you do right then. A desire is something that you want, something that you long for. A long term value, I would say my long term value is staying consistent, staying focused, and my health and wellness. Those are some of my long term values. My long term goals is to finish my college degree. I would say another long term goal that I have is to learn a few different languages as well as make the SOS podcast a world known podcast. So those are some of the goals. And how does impulses and desires relate to self awareness? When you're more self aware, you know when something is a want versus a need. You know that this is something that I want. This is not what I need. And you are becoming more self aware in your actions when you do that. So watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your destiny. Watch what you think because you eventually say it. Watch what you say because you'll eventually do it. And watch what you do because it becomes a habit. And watch the habits that you have become because that is your lifestyle. Watch what you say because it will eventually be your lifestyle. It'll eventually be what you may or may not want it to be. You have to be careful of the habits that you have because it's easier to break a thought than it is to break a lifestyle. It's easier to change your thoughts than it is to change your lifestyle. So just be mindful of that. So to recap, self-awareness is essentially the practices of focusing on your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. It's strengthened with time and effort, just like any other habit. Things to help you become more self-aware that you got to keep in mind is killing your ego. You can't think that you're perfect. You can't think that you have absolutely no flaws. It doesn't work that way. You have to have an open mind. You have to be open to change. You have to be open to knowing that you aren't perfect. You have to know that there are going to be critiques in when you're working on yourself. But those are people that you don't worry about, especially if it's in a negative way. You have to know your emotional triggers and be in tune with your feelings. Be aware of what makes you feel what you feel. Don't ignore your feelings. Don't neglect them or try to deflect them off on anybody. Ask yourself, why do you feel the way that you're feeling? Address your emotion and move forward. You can't dwell in your emotion forever because it does nothing but bring you down. You have to ask people for feedback to recognize those blind spots that you have. And a way that you can do that is by saying to them, I'm on a new journey of self-awareness. Could you give me some pointers on how I could improve? And this is asking for a recommendation. This is not asking a person for your opinion on them. This is more of a recommendation. And you have to be okay with whatever they tell you in your recommendation, because keep in mind that's what you asked. You asked them, so they told you. So you can't get upset about them giving you the truth. And you have to be okay with the truth. And you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable to put yourself in a better position. So that's stepping out of your comfort zone. What are the benefits of being self-aware? Increased productivity. We procrastinate a lot, and it comes from our thoughts, our emotions, and our habits. A lot of people are scared to fail, but fear is something that you put inside of yourself. Fear is a thought. Fear is something that you can overcome. Failure equals success. The more you fail, the more you learn. And even if you don't complete whatever it is that you was working towards, at least you learn some type of lesson from it. I'd rather be brave and fail than to be stagnant and stuck. I'd rather learn a lesson and fail than to be stagnant and have absolutely no lessons at all. With no failures and nothing like that, I personally rather fail and learn my lesson. I'd rather learn what needs to be learned. Now, when it comes down to someone telling you something that may be helpful, then that's when you can listen and pay attention. But when it comes down to a personal journey of trying something new, I'd rather be brave and fail. Because I learned my lesson. I learned what I needed to know, especially when it comes down to myself. Because the only way that you find out who you really are is through trial and error. Whether that's a new routine, a new style, anything new. Also, you have clear thinking. When you make bad decisions, it comes from you not thinking clear. And most of the time it comes out of us operating out of emotion instead of logic. You should never feel afraid to become a piece of art. Never feel afraid to become more self-aware. Self-awareness allows you to self-correct. Self-awareness allows you to become a better version of yourself. And you should never feel afraid to become more self-aware, to learn more about yourself. I think it's something that's pretty cool. And when you're on this new journey of building a better you, you're creating a piece of art. And within that piece of art, you're learning so much. And I think that is something cool. This is the SOS podcast, encouraging you to become a better version of yourself, one episode at a time. Today's topic was self-awareness, bringing you closer and closer to the shore of happiness. Remember, watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become your destiny. Thank you so much for listening. It's your girl Tia, and you have a great day.